Greetings, everybody. Are we live? I don't want a repeat of last time where I talked for half an hour and nobody heard me. So I'm not doing anything until I see somebody say loud and clear. So, welcome everybody. Let me see who we have here today. Actually, I already know who we have here because I cheated, I looked. Angie's here from Geordieland, Alistair from Carlisle. Amy, I need to talk to you today. I'll talk to you in just a minute through this. Ingolf, Walter, Daniel, the gang is all here. Ray, welcome. And Nils, great, fantastic. And you can hear me? Yes, okay, good, right. Well, we won't mess around with that. I got a lot of things I want to tell you about before we get started today. And obviously, this is about your questions and getting your answers. So you can keep them coming. Be sure to make my name glow orange when you put the question in. Amy, would you tell everybody how you do that? Because I've forgotten again. I want to thank some people, as always. I want to thank William from WeMacro, first person to thank for this. Several people have asked me to review the Micromate from WeMacro, and I'm going to. Not today. I just wanted to show it to you today, and to remind me to thank William, who sent me this without me asking. I asked him a question about the controller, and this was the answer. So that was wonderful. Other thanks go out to Jamie Walters, who heard my plea last week about not being able to do live streams very well because I couldn't see everything at the same time. 2 days later, I had an additional 2 monitors for my computer. So now I've got monitors everywhere, a wall of monitors. It's fantastic. I don't know what to look at. But anyway, it works. It's fantastic. So thank you. To Bud Parrott, who's helping me this week with the Photoshop live stream, which is going to be coming up next week. He and I are going to record it today, so we don't have to deal with any of this nonsense with Zoom and OBS and all that. We're going to record it today and then do it as a live stream next week. So I will be answering your questions in real time while I show the recording that we record today. That may be the thing that works best for us for right now. Mike says everything's good in Phoenix, which is good. I was wondering about that. And Amy has put the instruction on there how to make my name go orange. Jamie, you were the next person. No, I've already hit your thank you. I hope you heard it. Thank you, Jamie. And thanks to Mike and to Curly Toes for everything that he's doing and does. To Robert Wester in Ocala, who happens to be here as well as in Ocala. Big thank you going out this week to our next present friend, photographer 85 from Austria, who sent us something that I'm going to be showing you in a minute because it answers the first question of the day from Walter. Walter had a question, and because of photographer 85, we get it answered today. So the question concerns calculators, and I've got something to show you about that. Are you confused? That's okay. Take your medicine, just relax, and you'll understand shortly. Susan Seaford, thank you for everything you do. And Lauria from Peoria, welcome. If you're here, if you're not here, welcome anyway. And the last thank you I have, but by no means is it all the thank yous, but I'll run out of time if I thank everybody I need to thank. But I do want to thank Allan Walls. Allan was the guy that kind of got the whole Decon 90 thing going. Decon 90's always been hard to find over here anyway. It's always been pretty expensive. But it was Allan that first sent me a litre of Decon 90, and it was, you don't use much, and you shouldn't use much. It's ridiculously strong. I talked about this on Tuesday, but in case you weren't here, it's a mixture of detergents and surface agents that's very concentrated. It's kind of like lye. In fact, it's not kind of like lye, it is lye, and with other poisonous chemicals in it. And if you get it on your skin, it'll burn you. And if you put little bugs in it, it'll destroy them. So you have to use it very dilute, and it goes a long way. It lasts forever. You probably only need about 2% solution at the most. It's fantastic for restoring eyes. It's fantastic for limbering up really stiff limbs in old dried insects. I use it a lot. Just dip it and then rinse it, and the limbs go limber. Anyway, he started this out by sending me a liter, and I thought, I'll never use a liter. I'll never use a tenth of that. So I asked if anybody else needed any, and then I distributed basically all of it except the 100 cc's that I kept, and diluted down. That's, you know, a liter. No, it's not. It's hang on. Yes, it is. It's a liter. What I have left is gallons of the stuff. So I was saying the other night, because several people have said, hey, have you got any more Decon 90? We can't get any. We'd like to get our hands on some. And this is for mostly just folks in America, because the shipping is insane to send it anywhere else. But anyway, Allan heard that from the live stream the other night, and next thing you know, there's another liter on its way. So that we are going to have a resupply. So if you're in desperate need of Decon 90, you can't afford it, you can't get it where you are. The only thing I'm missing right now is I'm out of these Nalgene bottles, and I bought 30 of them, 20 of them last year, and I'm out of them. And I don't have the funds right now to get them, so that'll be the hold up, unless you want to send me some Nalgene bottles to put them in. I think these are 100 cc's. But that is not, nobody like Allan can't do that. That has to be somebody else. All right, so where was I? Today I'm going to talk about a couple of things related to enlarger lenses, and I'm going to start out with one that is pertinent because it concerns Amy, 5 Aquatics that is, and Photographer 85, both of whom are here. Amy's been having a problem getting sharp pictures with a reversed Nikkor 50mm f2.8N. And she's doing everything the way I told her to do it when she got this lens. She's using it reversed, and she's using it at about 3 times magnification, I think. And she's using it at f5.6, which is what I tell all of my students is the safest place to start. Now, there are a few confounding variables here. Amy's using it on a full frame 61 megapixel camera, and she's using it at extension, enough extension to get about 3 times magnification. And her pictures are persistently soft. She's put a lens hood on it. She's doing everything right and getting soft pictures. Day before yesterday, Photographer 85 stepped in and made the best recommendation, the correct recommendation, which is try it at f4. Just try opening up the aperture a little bit and see if that doesn't get rid of some of this diffraction, which was causing the softening in his estimation. And that is exactly the right thing to do. And I guess because I have been teaching f5.6 with that lens for so long, I just went into not thinking mode and just went into reacting. And that's not a good way for me to be. So I think I was feeling defensive about it, and I was pushing for, no, you're fine at 5.6. But the truth is, no, you're not. It's a trade-off. And when you see this video, if you watch it, the one I have just finished on a comparison of this lens, the Nikkor 50 at 3 times magnification, I compare that to the short-focused Mitutoyo 5 times objective with a DCR 250 relay lens, which also gives you 3 times or 3.2 times magnification, and I compare them side to side. And what you're going to see in that comparison is that this is not a clear issue. There are shades of gray here, and it's where you need to know what you're doing to be able to get the most out of either one of these things. I don't want to spoil the fun of the video by telling you what the answer is right now, or should I? No, I won't spoil it, but it's not what you think. So anyway, I say all of this just to say to Photographer 85, you were right, I was bullheaded and wrong, and Amy, listen to him, don't listen to me. Fair enough. And what was I thanking Photographer 85 about? He sent me a calculator that is probably one of the nicest calculators I've seen yet. It is a calculator that is designed to help you with just about everything in macro photography. And this is what it looks like. It's an Excel spreadsheet that he has put together that will help you, whatever kind of camera you have, whether you're shooting an APS-C crop frame camera, like most of us do. Hang on, I've got to find my cursor. When you've got 4 screens, it's sometimes hard to know where your cursor is, I've discovered. So on this calculator, we have the APS-C sensor size, full frame sensor, and a medium format sensor on crop mode. So you just pick the camera that you're using, and this is in answer to Walter's question. He gave me some stuff and wanted to, well, let me go to it. He gave me some parameters and wanted to know something about it, so let's look at it. Allan, it says there's a thing on my other screen that says, now would be a good time to insert an ad. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep talking instead. And I'll close that. So Walter said, would you please, and he shouted the word please, demonstrate how to use a step size calculator. I'm using a Fuji X-T3. Okay, X-T3 is an APS-C. And I'm using a Lauria 25mm ultra macro lens set for 2.5x and f4. Okay, so here's how you do it, Walter. You get this calculator, which is going to be available to everybody. It's going to be on the website. It's going to be probably on Discord. I have to speak to Curly Toes, who understands these things better than I do, how we magically make that happen. But it will happen. And then you just enter the numbers into this formula thing. I hope I'm doing it right, because I've never used it before. There you go. Okay, so I just got this, and I just put it on this screen. So it's 25mm you were talking about, yep. And you're using it at f4, I think you said, yes. And your extension. Well, that thing doesn't have extension, does it? It's all internal. Yeah, I wonder how you do that. Okay, well, let's ignore that for right now. We'll say it's 100mm. No, the magnification. We'll change the magnification, and that way it'll change the extension for us probably. Let me see. Magnification was 2.5. Oh dear, what was that? Okay, I'm not allowed to change that. So, yeah, I'll have to figure that out, Walter. So this is a bad example of how you do it. But what you would... Oh, here it is down here. Magnification is 2.5. This is the last one I'm going to try until I've practiced this. And the nominal aperture you said was f4. Yeah, we don't know your extension. Okay, forget about it. It's impossible, Walter. There's no way for you to know. I'm sorry. I should have practiced using this to know where I'm supposed to go to change the numbers. I'll tell you what. Photographer 85, who wrote this program, is actually here, and do me that favor, if you could, Photographer 85. Would you go over to look at the questions there, and look at the first question from Walter up at the top. Use the calculator, and then tell us what the answer is, and then I'll learn how to use your calculator. Okay, moving on while he does that. Lance says hi. He has a similar question. Oh dear, then maybe I'll try answering that one. You use the Elnichor 50 f2.8n on bellows. What is your desired step length in microns at 3 times? Okay, all right. Well, this I can answer, probably not with the calculator, or should I try? We'll try 50 millimeters. At what are you using it at? f2. No, you don't say. If you're using it, let's say you're using it at f4, which is what I'd recommend if you're doing this on a crop frame camera, right? And you're going to have your, well, you measure your extension, right? Once you get it to 3 times with a ruler, you'll know what your extension is. In my case, it's about 150. We'll say 150. Your step length then should be, no, that's only 2 times magnification. Let's go 200. Is this fun or what? Okay, that's 4. I was right the first time. Hang on. I didn't press enter. Yeah, okay. 150, that's 3 times. Here it is. Here's the answer. Your step size, 43.5 microns. How does that sound to you? That's way bigger step than I was using. But that's good. You can always go a bit lower. Your depth of field is 67. Yeah, this is what I calculated too. So perfect. That's the answer to your question. You need to have a step size of about 40 microns. I was using, for the test in the video that I'm going to show you, I was using way less. I was using half that, and you'll see why if you watch the video. Okay, so that's Lance's question answered. Walter, I would answer yours. 200 microns is going to be way too big. Way too big, I think you'll find. But in a minute, there'll be an answer that'll pop up in the chat and you'll know. Robert, I already thanked you, Robert. I'm going to thank you again for everything that you've done. Robert has supplied the prizes for the photo competition. Have you done your photograph yet? Your minerals? If you haven't, we're running out of month. On Tuesday, I think, we run out of month. So you need to get a mineral and photograph it and send it into the robots. David, hello again. How are you? Good to see you. Bill from Seattle. Bill reminds me that the calculator in Zerine is the other really good calculator. It's like this one. It has a lot of information that the average user, probably like me, isn't going to understand and isn't going to know how to use. But it's got everything on it, as does this. So they're both fantastic calculators. And if anybody, by the way, knows how you figure the extension on that Lauria lens. I don't have that lens, so I'm not really sure. That would be interesting to know, because I think all the extension is internal. So, wait, hang on a sec. I've distracted myself. I was going to tell you something. What is short focus? We've been talking about it. I explain it in the video. But short focus is when you're using an infinity corrective microscope objective, but instead of using it at the with a tube lens of the focal length that is recommended and used in a microscope to focus that on your retina, you're using it with a shorter focal length tube lens in order to depress the magnification, to decrease the magnification. And in the process of doing that, it increases the apparent resolution. So you get a sharper but smaller image. It's like you move away from the image a little bit. It's a way to add creativity to your photography, because a good example is you've got a lovely beetle that like the clown weevil that I use in this video. It's a stunning thing. Well, I'll show you a picture of it because I've got it right here. I was looking at it a moment ago. So you've got a lovely picture of a weevil. This is not a lovely picture, it's just a picture of a weevil, and it's too big at 5 times magnification, and you don't have an EL Nikkor 50mm to use. You don't have anything else. You've just got the 5 times objective. Stick a 125mm lens as a relay lens on there instead of your DCR 150, which is 200mm or 208mm, and this is what you get. You get a weevil that's 3 times the size it is, not 5. So it fits on your crop frame sensor. In this case, it fits on my full frame sensor, but that's another matter. So the reason you would use this would be if you had a specific need for slightly less magnification. Mitutoyo makes a 1 times objective, and they make a 2 times objective. Then they make a 5 and a 7.5 and a 10. They don't make a 3. So you can't just go buy your way out of this problem. You have to use a $70 Raynox DCR forward orientation, and that's how you can get to 3x. But is it any good? Watch the video and you'll see exactly what it is. Ah, dearie me. Oh, you don't have Zerine, Walter. Doesn't matter. You won't need it because you'll have this calculator, which is just as good. Daniel, who's in White Rock, says hi, as does Susan, who's in North Alabama. And Ingolf, welcome. And you are in the mountains of Germany taking pictures, I presume, because it's springtime up there. Right, you're photographing a small bee, says Ray Martinez, using a reversed 50mm N enlarger lens on bellows with a full frame camera on stack shot rail. What do you recommend for the step size? I think we've already covered that. At 2x, it's going to, well, should we calculate it just to get used to the calculator? I suppose we should. So let me go over here and bring it on. So you're using the 50, you're using it at F, do you say? Let's assume you're using it at F4 and you're using it at less extension. You'll be using it at about 100 if you've got 2x. Yeah, 100 is 2x, so that gives you a step length of 73.34 microns. Is that what you got? That's what you need, 70 microns, close enough. That's also a nice long step. I mean, I would, yeah, that's about what I would use actually off the top of my head. So there you go, that's the answer. I'm not going to do any more of these calculations. You have to do them yourself. I didn't show you that one, did I? Sorry. Yeah, that's where I entered his numbers, 50. F4, 100 millimeters to get that magnification, that step length, and you will have this for your own calculations in no time. Is there anybody still doesn't understand how you do this calculation thing on on one of these calculators? That's really all there is to it. Okay. Greetings to Nils. We already said hi. What's the weather like in there? Is it still nighttime there for another month or two? What a horrid way that would have to be to spend the week. Anyway, I was going to tell you guys. Oh my goodness! I just noticed Curious was here. Curious, welcome. You might be interested in this, Curious. This was from Mr. Robert Wester in Ocala, sent me this fantastic motor. It is the smoothest 0.9 degree stepper I've ever used. It's almost silent, incredibly strong. I was in the process of building something very similar to this when We Macro sent me this, which also has a very fine 0.9 degree motor on it. That was just an aside. That was me just saying hi to Curious. You can ignore that. Let me see. Where were we? We were talking about... Did I tell you about the Photoshop live stream? I did. We're doing that next week. We're recording it today. Angie, Geordieland in the UK. Where is Geordieland? Where do Geordies come from? I've forgotten. Manchester. Is it Manchester? Tell me. Do tell me. I feel a bit stupid not knowing that. Art, welcome. And Angie, welcome again. All right, let's see. Am I missing anything? There were some other questions here. Marilyn Giannuzzi can hear me loud and clear. Good, I'm glad. And Walter Budd is here. And Walter, what are you doing here when you're supposed to be preparing for our recording, getting your makeup done and everything? More questions. Here we go. Phil says, I mentioned that Decon shouldn't be used on spiders. I did mention that, didn't I? It dissolves them. I've tried it. If you have a gigantic spider, then just stay away from me. But I imagine a gigantic one won't dissolve as quickly. I've tried this stuff on everything, and if it really has to have an exoskeleton, or I wouldn't put it in Decon. Decon is very much like lye, as I mentioned. It's sodium hydroxide, and when you put something in it that doesn't have a protective covering, it will dissolve. It can remove the color from things too, but spiders are particularly prone to just fall apart. So I was reading something the other day that somebody sent me and asked for an opinion on about another macro photographer who was putting Decon 90 with little tiny wasps in a syringe and creating a vacuum so that it would suck the liquid into the dried insect. I'm not sure why. I imagine it would just go up in a puff of smoke, really, but yeah, I don't do that. I just dip them in it, and if you dip a spider in this and then lift your tweezers up, it'll just be a leg, usually. It just falls apart. Have you ever tried to freeze a spider before? It's the same kind of thing. You freeze a spider and its abdomen just collapses. Yeah, terrible. It's an ugly thing. It's an ugly thing. How do you keep your specimen still when you're prepping it under the microscope? Ralph asks. Well, they're dead, so yeah, they don't move much. Yeah, I don't prep them alive. They move around. They're not cooperative. I'm most of the prepping I'm doing under the microscope is really small insects, and they are usually either preserved or dried. I mean, just naturally dried, or they've been preserved, or they've been in alcohol, and I'm cleaning them very, very carefully with very fine brushes and liquids and air. It's a big process. There's a whole discussion in there. In fact, there's a whole year worth of discussions in there. If you're interested in it, there's loads of videos on how I do it and all the different techniques I use, and I've got some more of that stuff coming up. I didn't mean to be facetious about that, but yeah, I mean, they're super still when they're under my microscope. Have to be. Okay, let me see. Lee Roberts says the beard looks better every week. I think it looks absolutely atrocious, and I almost shaved it off. But yep, then somebody will say it looks good, and I'll decide to give it a while longer. Laura G from Peoria is here. Welcome, Laura. And Eric is in the south of France. You don't have to rub it in every week, Eric. I mean, I guess you do. If you live in the south of France, you can. Alrighty, let's see. So we dealt with the insect stillness issue, and Dimitri Rumeliotis. Wow, that's difficult. And you're from Athens. Oh, that's fantastic. You're our first Greek person to join us. Fantastic. And Robbie's here. Robbie, you heard the announcement, I'm sure, about the Decon being back, so you're in good shape. And Jamie, I mentioned the process with Decon 90 Tuesday. Do you use the rinse and soapy water repeat to neutralize the Decon 90 from over cleaning the bugs? Well, it's like this. If you dip a very small, delicate insect into dilute Decon 90, even quite dilute, and you just leave it on there, it will eat away at the tissues that are holding its appendages and its skeleton together, and it will fall apart. So what I do is I dip it in, depending on the size. It'll either be for a few seconds, for like a fairy wasp or something, that's half a millimeter, just tiny little things. For a larger insect, it may be a full minute that I move it around in the dilute Decon 90. But as soon as it's had what I think is enough time, which is seldom going to be, even for a big beetle, it's not going to be more than a couple of minutes, I'll take it out and I'll rinse it in water, a little detergent, and then back in the clean water. That is just to wet it and dilute out the Decon 90 so that it doesn't sit there and keep digesting the tissue, because just like a strong acid, it's going to continue to eat away at the parts of the tissue that are susceptible to it. Now, most of the exoskeleton will survive that. The reason it works so well to revitalize eyes and to limber up really stiff joints is because, first of all, because of the surfactants, the surface acting agents, it's able to get into the inside of the body cavity, which is where the muscles are, in an animal with an exoskeleton. The muscles are attached to the tubular-like parts of the skeleton. And this stuff liquefies it partially. And what happens is that the limb very quickly becomes limber when you do that. But you don't want to leave it in there because you don't want to completely separate the tissues. So it's a matter of trial and error, but it's always best to do it a couple of times than to do it once for too long. Because if you don't believe me, take the full strength stuff and just drop an insect in it and see how long that thing is gonna last. It's not long. So there you go. That's what it is. Where are we? So Allan has just announced the fact that there's Decon 90 on the way, which I already announced. So thank you, Allan. I didn't realize you were here, but thank you. This is great, keeping this going. I know that a lot of people just can't get that where they are. Armin, welcome from Switzerland. We've got the whole European continent covered, don't we? And Jamie, did I answer that properly? Do I use the rinse and repeat to neutralize the decon? It's just to dilute it. Yeah, it doesn't neutralize it. You'd have to put it in acid to neutralize it, but it dilutes it down to where it's no longer a problem. Yeah, photography can solve the long storage Decon 90. Can you solve the long storage Decon? I'm not sure what that is, Patrick. Can you solve? Oh, can you keep Decon 90 a long time in storage? Is that what you're asking? Yes, you can. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't have anything volatile in it. As far as I know, it's just a very powerful basic surfactant solution. And I've had some for a decade, yeah, and it's still perfectly effective. So yeah, it's an airtight bottle. I usually use a brown plastic bottle, but this is fine. Yeah, it'll last forever. If you were using a crop frame camera, asks Amy, would 5.6 be okay? Well, the question refers to the use of a reversed EL Nikkor f2.8N lens, and Amy was having problems with softening, and she was using a very large 61 megapixel camera. Now the question is, if I recommended, or photographer 85 recommended, and then I concurred that going to f4 probably be a good idea with that camera. Now Amy's asking, well, can I leave it on f5.6 if I was using an APS-C camera? And the answer is possibly, but also possibly not. And you're going to get some clarification on this when you see the pictures in the video that's coming out. Because you understand that diffraction is the softening that's caused by the interference of the aperture with the light rays that pass through. And as the aperture gets smaller and smaller relative to the sensor, the diffraction gets worse and the softening gets worse. But diffraction exists at f2.8 or at f1.0 if you have a knocked or whatever that thing is. So you always have diffraction. The reason we say try to keep your effective aperture below 20, or you keep your f number below 20, is because it becomes markedly more apparent at f20, but it's still there at f8. So the answer to your question is it depends. It depends on what your images look like when you do that. I would guess if you were at 5.6 on a crop frame camera, your pictures would be acceptably sharp. It's why I recommend that particular setting, because I think it's the safest. You understand that everything is a kind of balancing match, and if you open up the aperture too much, then what happens is you start to see aberrations, which also interfere with the quality of the image. So you have to find the spot where you get the minimum softness, because you're not causing too much diffraction, but you're not so wide open that you're starting to see a chromatic aberration and comma forming and astigmatism and field curvature and all of the things that happen when the lens is wide open and you're getting all this off-axis light hitting the edges of the lens elements. Make sense? Probably not, but I mean that's the balancing act you have to do. So what I would do is definitely put on the APS-C camera at 5.6 and take a test shot. And if it's unacceptably soft in the middle, it'll be unacceptably soft at the edges. That's the beauty of this lens. It's uniform. And then switch to f4 and try that. That is really one of the secret weapons of macro photography. Well, actually, I was going to tell you what all of the superpowers of macro photography were, because I made a list of them in my time off this morning, which was non-existent, which is why the list is so short. But the number one superpower for a good macro photographer is the ability to choose the right tool for the right job, for the job you have at hand. You know, we can all take good pictures if we have all of the conditions right for our camera and lens. And that's why macro photography is one of those areas of expertise where it astonishes people that they can have one or two really fantastic photographs. They really are fantastic. And the rest of the stuff is just kind of okay. And it's because the rest of the stuff wasn't suited for that same lens combination. You can't be a one-trick pony in macro photography. You have to know as many of the tools as there are available to you. You may not be able to own all of them. You may not be able to have this lens or that camera. But if you know all of the different ways that you can capture an image in macro, and you know when each is appropriate, and you have the experience to know what technique goes with what particular set of circumstances, then you start to enter the realm of a master macro photographer, somebody who is able to look at a given situation and say, yeah, I know 5.6 is normally what you would use with this lens, but under the circumstances, this would be a better choice. And that's the superpower. The second superpower is having the flexibility to not get committed to a single idea. In other words, it's so easy to fall in love with a lens and use nothing but that lens. And after a while, if you're a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. So if your favorite lens is a Lauria, the super macro Lauria, then suddenly everything is going to be photographed with that, even when it's not the right choice. So the superpower is being able to say, there's a better choice. Maybe a reversed standard prime lens would be better in this. Maybe a microscope objective. So knowing them, you have to know them if you're going to pick them. And you only get that by experience. So the way you do that, listen to people who've been doing it longer than you have. If you can find somebody to mentor you, then absolutely embrace that, because that's the best way. I have a mentor who I rely on for reality checks on virtually everything. He's somebody who understands this stuff far better than I ever will, and can give me feedback when I'm doing it wrong. And that's what you need, because you can't build your own experience just by making mistakes. You have to make mistakes and understand why you did. The third superpower is you have to have a beard, a big beard like this. Now, you can get one that just goes on over your ears if you're a lady and don't have a good beard to grow. Otherwise, I mean, you really want one like this, I would say. You have to have the patience of a saint. You have to be able to try and try and try again until you find the combination that works, and until you understand why it works. People who are short on patience when it comes to stuff like this do not make really good macro photographers, because you tend to just try to cram everything into that one model that you prefer. Not a lot of time for that. Perfectionism is actually a benefit up to a point when you're doing this. It's all about the pixels. So yeah, probably shouldn't say that, but it's probably true. And practice. The other part is practice. You've just got to practice, and make your practice meaningful practice. Try a new lens setup and then work with it until you know what it's good at. You know what it's not good at. You know what it works with your equipment and what it doesn't. You know how to light it. You know the subjects that are problematic with it. If you do that, and if you do it systematically, and if you take some of your... I to this day still take some of my photography time each week, and I use it to experiment with new things, and I do it in a planned and systematic way. Does it always yield useful information? Absolutely not. Sometimes it's a complete waste of time, but of course it's not a complete waste of time, because I looked at at all of the issues, and even though I didn't come up with an answer, I learned from doing it. So these are really important, and I just wanted to mention them. I don't know why, it was just on my mind this morning. So where were we? I do need to say one other thing about the Micromate. Can I jump around like that without causing anybody to become seasick? The Micromate Thingamajig here from William. This is a device that's used to adjust the fine focus knob on your microscope. I was actually looking at Rick Littlefield's setup last night, and he's actually dismantled his scope and has a direct linkage between the two. But this nifty little device goes onto the fine focus adjustment knob, and then as the motor turns, it's able to move the focus knob in really tiny increments. And if you have a Nikon Labafot or whatever Rick has, he can get something like nominally quarter micron steps with the fine focus of his microscope using this. Now, this is the first time I have had this in my possession, and the thing that's lacking right now is the other important piece of this, which is a microscope. And I seem to not be doing very well in my bidding at auction. A friend, Robert, has convinced me that the best way to get a good microscope at an affordable price is to go to an auction. And I've been going to auctions that are online, and I've been bidding on them, but I think I'm too cheap to get aggressive there at the end, and I get outbid at the last minute. So I'll try again. I almost got a $25,000 microscope for $100. $100 last week, and somebody bid $1,000, which seemed ridiculous to me, but there you go. So I'll get one, and the next time you see this, it will actually be doing its thing. Sounded like somebody was trying to knock my wall down over there. There's been some strange noises in the neighborhood today. I think there's some construction going on. Let's see. How do you get the spreadsheet, asks Mike Olson. I am making him want one. Well, that's the whole point. I'm trying to make you want one because we've been given it. I don't know. How do we do that? I haven't actually spoken to Photographer 85 about how he wants me to distribute it, but I think he's pretty open to whatever it is we need to do. So how about if... you know what? I'm trying to be circumspect about giving away something that's still a secret, so I can't tell you exactly where that's going to be, but it will be available soon. And in the meantime, if you email me, well, that would be useless, but yeah, if you email me and I see it, I'll send this to you. I'll send you the spreadsheet. It's a pretty small file. Okay, so do that. Email me. Could I put it in chat and could people get it from there? Does anybody know that? Does anybody understand computers better than me? Can I actually put this somewhere? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put this over on Patreon. I know I can attach it there. I'll put this in a post on Patreon today after, this evening. So if you want to get this and you're a Patreon person, go over there and it'll be there. If you want to get this and you're not a Patreon person, become a Patreon person. That's bribery, isn't it, me saying that? You could become a Patreon person and then it would be there. Otherwise, it will be somewhere and I'll let you know. I'm confusing everybody, aren't I? Don't worry. It'll soon be over. Amy, yes, did I answer that question? What are you laughing at? I get sensitive when you start laughing when I've just answered one of your questions. Did I get it wrong? The medium format sensor. Oh, this is Photographer 85 talking right now. So everybody hush while he tells us what he's going to tell us. The medium format sensor crop means it's for the GFX body or the Hasselblad X1D or the Pentax 645Z. They don't have a full frame medium format sensor, but a smaller one. Okay, these are 3 good examples of cameras that they don't let me touch at the camera shop. Anything Hasselblad, they won't let me near. The Pentax 645, gorgeous medium format camera, they won't let me touch. And same with the GFX, the ginormous medium format from Fuji. They made me just go away with a little XT2, so I'm safe with that. I will never go to the 3rd page of this calculator. I'll do it now just so that you can see it, but I'll never go there because I'll never have that camera. Though, do you want to hear about my recurring dream? You probably don't. I would understand if you didn't. This is the medium format page, by the way. It looks similar to the others, but yeah, there you go. So in my dream, I'm going through this box of stuff at the, I didn't show it, did I? I didn't do the transformation, sorry. I'm going through boxes of stuff. So that's the medium format page, very similar to the others, same information. And I'm going through and I find this box thing that looks like it might have a camera in it. I open it up and it's got a brand new Hasselblad with the back and the macro lens on it and everything. And it's got a $5 sticker on it. And I buy it. And then I wake up. Yeah, I've had that dream. A lot. It's never going to happen, is it? Put me out of my misery. Let's see. Where are we? I think I got out of order with the questions. No, I didn't. I think we're right in order. So that was it on the spreadsheet then. And Tramplight, could you add M43, micro four thirds as a sensor size option on the spreadsheet, please? I can't. Are you crazy? This is a spreadsheet. You have to be a scientist to write one of these, I think. Oh, you're not asking me, you're asking Photographer 85. I don't know. I don't know yet. Take that as a question, Photographer 85. Can you add a micro four thirds thingamajig to it? Yeah, a lot of people are using that these days, so maybe that is a good idea. All right, Lee, just done a stack with Zerine, and you did what now? You used both of the algorithms, I'm guessing, and the output image and backdrop was covered in black noise and the subject was not stacked. Yeah, I don't know, Lee. I would have to, I'd have to know a bit more about what you did. You carried over a bunch of photographs from Lightroom, or did you just import them directly in, and what format were they? JPEGs or TIFFs? And then you stacked them both, probably using Align and stack both PMax and DMAP. If you did that, you shouldn't, the black that you were seeing, that was probably midway through when it was asking you to set the contrast level. Was that what you ran into? Yeah, that's almost certainly what it was, because you wouldn't see anything but the mask if it was. We should probably talk about it. Have you watched Rick's video in the app, the how-to? If you do that, it'll walk you through doing the basic stack, and that might answer your question for you right there. It's a very good video. We were talking about it last night. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to tell you about. I have so many things on my list. The other thing I wanted to tell you about was coming up in a very short period of time. I am going to be doing this feature on stereo image pair creation, making stereo pairs in Xerene so that you can have these three-dimensional synthetic stereo objects. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's great fun. It's a way to process your images, process your stacks in Xerene so that you end up with macro subjects that are three-dimensional, and you can put on magic spectacles and you can look at them in 3D, or you can cross your eyes like that and they will appear in 3D. That's quite difficult to do. You have to practice. But it's a complicated process. So I talked for a long time last night to Rick about how we could make this more appealing and digestible for everybody who might be interested in doing stereo who hasn't done it before. And then I thought, you know what? How about if we have our middle of the year photo competition be a stereo competition? And that's what I'm going to do. So I haven't decided June or July, but one of those months it's going to be stereo. So I need to teach you guys how to do stereo before then. And we're going to start right away. I think it's next week. I might be talking about it in the other live stream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tutorial video. Rick's going to do something, and we might do something together. But one way or the other, by the time that competition comes around, you're going to be an expert at it, because you need to be, because it's going to be a great competition with some extra special prizes. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm not going to tell you what they are. But there you go. So if you don't know how to do stereo, now's the time to learn. It really is, because you know who's going to be judging the stereo besides me? Yep, it'll be him, and he knows how to do it, so they better be good. So get on it. Start practicing. Where were we? If anybody is following what I'm talking about today, send me your notes so that I can make sure that I covered everything. I had so many things that I wanted to talk about, and I know I'm forgetting something. Lots and lots of people wanting this spreadsheet, Photographer 85. I knew it would be a hit. I knew it would. So I'll figure something out, guys. I will. And then the place to go to find out where it is will be the show description, the video description of the recording of this over on YouTube. And I'll put something over on my website as well, and in Discord and on Patreon. So as soon as I figure out where to put it, I'll put it there and you'll know. Okay. So now Photographer 85 has circled back around, and he has told me what to put in as the extension for Walter's question, and I'm going to do that. And it was on APS-C. He was using the, how many, that was 25mm lens. He was using it at, does anybody remember what the F number was? You can't talk to me, so it doesn't matter if you do remember. I'll have to just go back up to the top of the chat. Hang on, here it is. F4, and he said put in 62. Walter, here is the answer to your question. 30. That's it. Your step length is 30 microns. Got it? That's according to the calculator, and it doesn't lie. So by next time, you'll know how to use this, and you'll have a copy of it on your phone. So you'll know, but it's 30, okay? That's so brilliant. That thing is. You're going to love having that. Okay. I am back at the top of the chat, which is why nothing appears to be new there. Right. So, this is fantastic. People are reaching across the void and thanking Robert for his donation of prizes to the competition, which is super to see. Very nice, very nice. That's great. This really does feel like a community to me. I don't know if it does to you. Probably not if you're sitting at home, but it certainly does to me. It's so good to know who's going to be here and hang out with the same people during the week. I do look forward to this. All right, so we'd already dealt with that question, and okay, Lee's telling us the contrast box came on set to 0, and then you moved the slider, it added more black noise. What have you done wrong? It shouldn't be all black. If it's set to 0, there should be no black on it, and unless it was a completely black background. It might not have been mask. If you were using a black background, then you might not have had any mask on it until you slid it to the right. You might have to send me the pictures and let me take a look at them and see. But you know what would be a better thing to do? Would be to take that question and go over to Discord with it, Lee, and ask somebody over there. There's going to be somebody over there who'll look at the pictures and say, yeah, this is what you did wrong. In fact, I know a lot of the people here at today's session will be over on Discord at some point today. So try doing that, and we'll figure it out. It'll be something easy. I mean, it always is. Okay, so photographer 85 is talking to Walter, who I just told 30 microns, and he said it's twice that, 55 microns. So there you go. I didn't use it right, but that's okay because I haven't learned how to use it. So don't worry about it. Get it and learn how to use it yourself. What I might do is get with photographer 85 and have a chat with him and learn the ins and outs of it. And then the next time you see it, I'll know how to use it, and I'll tell you. Yeah, that's what I'll do. So yeah, that's great. Everybody thanking Robert. Good to see. All right. Now, Walter said thank you to photographer 85, and who is it who's saying that? Yeah, photographer 85 is saying that he has 20% overlap built in. Is that right? Or he has it set up for smaller step sizes. Okay, it's always better to use a smaller step size if you don't know or if you're unsure. Overlap is fine. I used to think, and I may have said in public one or two times, that I was under the impression that if you had too many images, in other words, if your step length was too short, that you could get into a situation where you had too much conflicting data, and it would negatively influence the quality of the image. That turned out to be not true, and the experiments that I'd done to prove it were actually proving something else entirely to do with the setup I was using. So in reality, other than filling up your computer with unnecessary data, using shorter than necessary step length is probably a perfectly safe and reasonable thing to do. And there are some people who believe that it is the secret to a long and happy life and better pictures in general. So try it and see. So if you think it's about 55 and you go with 30 just to be safe, it's not going to hurt anything. Take a little longer, but not going to hurt anything. Dragos Grama is from Romania and says hello. Well, hello. That is Dragos. What a cool name that is. Yeah, I might change my name to that. Still cold and snowy in the mountains for Ingolf. I knew it was. I was really just giving you a hard time because it's sunny and warm here today. Our spring sprang like the day after Christmas. Sorry to hear that, Ingolf. I know your winters are long there. Lee, the macro stuff will do your head in. I used to be a fairly normal person, and exposure to macro has resulted in this. So yeah, let that be a warning to you. You still should stick with it though, because I think you'll love it when you start getting a handle on it. But at first, focus stacking and retouching and using all this strange equipment, yeah, it is frustrating sometimes, but just chill and take your time and take it one little new task at a time. Don't rush from topic to topic too much. Pick just a lens, one macro lens. I started out with a reversed 50mm f1.8D plain old manual aperture ring prime lens. That's all I used for a long time, and I got really good with using just that. Do that, and you'll figure it out in time. Just take time. Let me see. Who am I missing? Dragos asks, when you try to win an auction with that microscope, are you bidding early? No, sir, I'm not. I decide on what I'm going to bid. I shouldn't tell you this in case you're bidding against me. Now you'll know, and I'll have somebody else who beats me. But I'll know exactly what I want to pay for that microscope. I'll research the microscope. I'll assume that it's in probably okay condition, but I'll price it accordingly, because if I have to get it fixed, it'll cost money. So I come up with a price, and I'm not going to spend more than that price. And then I don't bid at all until the day of the auction. And if I was going to bid $200 for something and it's already at $500, I just don't bother. I just walk away. But if it's less than what I was going to bid, I bid my maximum amount, and I let them bid me up. You know, the auction does that. It'll bid up to my level, and then it leaves me standing there. So is that right? Am I doing it wrong? I have a feeling I might be doing it wrong, but yeah, it hasn't worked yet. Let's see. Oh, here's the advice from Dragos. Don't bid early. Bid only once. If the price is still under what you're willing to pay for it. That's exactly what I just said. So we're on the right track. I'm doing it right. Fantastic. All right. And Bud says, you might mention that the 3D STL files for the Mitutoyo lens shades are, where did I put them? Over on Discord. No. I can't remember where I put them, Walter. Bud's reminding me to talk about the fantastic 3D printed lens hoods he made for the high magnification Mitutoyo objectives. These are his print files, and the device is beautiful, slip fit, a press fit with a tiny aperture at the end. It really gets rid of all of the unwanted light. Very nice. And I can't remember what I did with the files, but I know I put them on Discord for Discord people. No, I keep saying that. I know I put them on Patreon for Patreon people. And I will also put them over on Discord. That will be for everybody else. So thank you. Thank you, Bud. I'll do that. I'll do that right now. You know what? I'll also, you can't attach them in the, video description. Discord. If you're looking for lens hoods and you're not a Patreon person, go to Discord under the gear page. Go to the gear page, and I'll have the link there. Fair enough? Okay, great. Dearie me, submit. More advice, more bidding advice. Submit your bid 2 to 3 seconds before the auction ends. Oh dear, that's quite a bit later than I would. That's kind of like just getting to the airport 3 minutes before your plane takes off. I'll try it though. Yeah, that would avoid a bidding war, wouldn't it? Isn't there some kind of a service that does this for you, where you just pay them a few dollars and they bid for you at the last second? I think there might be. I'll give it a try. Harold just arrived, and he's sorry about arriving late. Don't let it happen again, Harold. I think we have you down as this being your second warning, or not. Either way, let me see what you have to say for yourself here. But you wonder if I spoke. Oh yes, we talked about Novaflex. You know, what was your question? What you were asking if it was a good buy, and I was saying it was. And then I was told by somebody who is in the know that a lot of their equipment is really good, and the bellows is really not that good. That it's very flimsy, is what I heard. Oh, money just appeared in my tip jar. I forgot to even mention the tip jar. Thank you, Victor. That was very kind. Thank you indeed. That will be lunch. So the answer is not as clear cut. Somebody asked me, somebody I have taught in the past, asked me why all of the macro photographers that he emulates use this expensive equipment. They use this bellows and their special lens tube system, Novaflex I'm talking about. I looked at that stuff last year, and the lens they use is I think it's an ITL 200 that's built into the tube. They don't advertise that, but I think that's what it is. And the objectives they use are standard Mitutoyo objectives. And the tubes are empty space. That's what bellows are as well. They are empty space. There's no glass elements. There's nothing in there to be of high quality. But they're very, very expensive. And I was trying to convince this person that very expensive gear is something that successful photographers may get by virtue of their success, but it is very unlikely that it was the expensive stuff that got them to be successful. That was good photography, and that's the point that I would make to anybody who's asking about buying $1,000 anything. If you've got the money and you want it and you like it and it's a status symbol that's important to you, then by all means get it. I'm sure it's perfectly useful, serviceable stuff. But if you're buying it because it'll make you a better photographer, that's a different question, and I don't know the answer to it. If Novaflex would send me a complete setup, I will certainly find the answer, but I haven't had that opportunity yet. Let me see. Harapuzzo just got home from work. Did I just start? No, we actually are, depending on when you wrote this message, I think we're just finishing. What time is it? Oh, we finished 5 minutes ago. So, yeah. So I'm sorry about that. And Bacon Meister just corrected that. Yeah, it was an hour ago. So I'm sorry about that. I really am. But yeah, it's always at the same time, 2 o'clock Central Time in the US. If you have a phone that has a world clock on it, like an iPhone, just put in Chicago. I don't live in Chicago, but Chicago's on the same time zone as me. And when it says 2 p.m. on Thursday, wherever you are in the world, if it's 2 o'clock in Chicago, that's when we start. So I'm sorry you missed it, but there'll be a recording. This is the recording, actually. So there you go. You asked a question last week in the dying seconds, and what was the question, Hara? Remind me. And I'll try to cram it in real quick here at the end. Gear does not make one successful. No, it doesn't. But it's fun, and it certainly can help you take great pictures, but you have to be able to take great pictures first, I think. Let me see. Oh, Eric, this is good to hear. He has the bellow, the BAL1, really good, and now really good quality on the bellows. Okay, that's good to hear. Another friend of mine, that the one I was talking about, is a chap in the UK who was not at the Patreon event that I do. He normally is at the European one, but I didn't see him this weekend, and I was going to ask him. But the other chap I talked to, so my answer is going to be the same. It's not going to be junk at that price, but it's also not magic at that price. There is no magic, actually. So it's all good. As long as you're willing to put in the hard work, you can make anything, take good pictures. I'm going to have to wrap it up here because I have got a recording coming up in just a few minutes that I need to prepare for. So thank you, Eric, for that. And we will probably discuss this again next time. Let me see. Stepping motor-driven focus rack. Yes, Harold, so answering your question, I didn't get to ask that person that I was going to ask about his experience, but I did talk to several other people who have used the equipment, and they were all impressed with it, except one negative comment about the build on the bellows. And that's just been counteracted by Eric, who's really happy with the bellows. So take that for what it's worth. You try find somebody who says something bad about the PB6, and that might be an alternative to consider. I think that's the best bellows ever made. So anyway, the question was about the new Fujifilm 30mm. Right, that's right, you did. Yes, and I don't have the answer for you because I don't have that lens. I was going to research that. So yeah, I will make that. I'll make that note again, and I do apologize, Mr. Puzo. Is it Mr.? I can't really see, but Hara. I'll get to the bottom of that. I'll find somebody who's got that lens. The friend that I know who has it, didn't see this last week, but we'll get to it. All right. Jamie, I agree. Have the toys if you can afford them, but learn to play with them and make yourself a better photographer. Well, that's what it's all about. You don't need fancy equipment to be a great photographer. You just need the things we talked about earlier. Guys, I have enjoyed every minute of it, as always. It's great to have everybody here. Thank you for coming. I'll be back here next week at 2 o'clock Central Time on Tuesdays. It's 8 o'clock in the evening Central Time, where we do something similar. It's not quite as aggressive as this. And keep your eyes open for all of the stuff I told you that will be coming up, because it will be. And the calculator will be available soon. Thank you to everybody, and have a great week. Bud, I'll see you in a few minutes. I've lost my cursor again. There it is.